Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, everybody? So, more Eagles talk today. We have a special guest in the building, the one and only, the Philly Shakedown narrative intro. That is this guy, Joe Castro from Philly, the podcast. What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? Excited for this, man. It's been too long. We keep on trying to, get together on these live shows. Next time it's going to be on my channel, but always good to talk to my brother Joey, man. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, no, dude, it's been, we don't get to do this much. And obviously when the off season's here, we have more time to do other things. And, it's somewhat been busy. Then you get towards these, dead zone times where, we're just trying to find out what's going on with this roster. And really we're looking forward to training camp. And I wanted to ask you from a perspective, because with what you do now and obviously the credentials, that you have and what you've been doing, from the combine to the draft, like we have one of our own in the Eagles community. We actually have one of our own now that that is part of, the insider news now, which is an awesome thing because to be honest with you, even at the combine, I think at least 75 to 80% of my news came from you. And a lot of it came from you. And I was like, Joe, and then, your name's getting out there and you're doing good things. So I want to just know from you, like, how much do you take from the combine and being at the draft, just being there, like just from being, from being a diehard fan, sitting at home watching it to how much you appreciate now going to these things and how much has it changed your preparation, how you look at things differently now?
Yeah, I mean, I have a newfound respect for what the combine is. Like, from a fan perspective, don't get me wrong, it was cool. The draft itself, I think the draft was amazing, right? But the combine, a lot of times as a fan, it's like, oh, you get to see these guys kind of run around in shorts and, throw the ball around with guys and everything. And that's cool. But as a person that looks at it and wants to see who my team's going to draft, a lot of times a lot of it was lost. I didn't feel like it was that important. But when you get out there and you're able to kind of talk to the kids, kind of see more of a just natural side of who they are, and that a lot of teams are doing that as well. They want to know who these guys are. And to even go further than that, people told me straight up out there, it's not really about what they do out on the field. It's really what they say in these closed rooms. So it gives you like a new respect for that side of it. But I mean, as a fan, being able to go out there was crazy, just being able to see all these guys out there, see, not just the players, but seeing a lot of reporters from different areas that, you either watch on TV or see wherever it may be. So it was definitely an experience, but it definitely gives you a new respect for what NFL teams, what scouts are going out to the combine and trying to find out of these players outside of just, can they run, jump, and you know what I'm saying? Whatever you want us to do. Right. So it was cool. It was definitely really cool.
So even going into the draft, like there was a lot of speculation, that, there was big time talks about Jalen Carter. There was big time talks of, not really knowing, like, obviously I was on the Bijan train for a while. But I had Jalen Carter as my second best player in this draft. What do you take from this draft? And by the way, I just put the live stream on public. StreamYard has been acting really, it's been acting really weird. I don't know why. Last time I streamed, I had an issue too. Like I have it publicly for studio, but in StreamYard, it doesn't turn public. So you got to I don't know what just happened. So I appreciate everybody being here late. I'm sorry for that. Yeah. What did you think of the draft in general? Like when the Eagles had those 2 first-round picks, did you think that maybe they were going to trade back one of those picks and keep that thing going? We're getting an extra first every single year. Or did you think they were actually going to get 2 bona fide? Did you really want 2 bona fide first-rounders in that first round to really get this team going?
I wanted movement. I knew there was going to be movement of one of those picks, whether it be up or down. Going into the draft, obviously, I did put out the tweet of the guys that I heard that they were interested in, and obviously, Bijan was one of them. Jalen Carter, another one of them at 10. Nolan Smith was not one of those guys that they wanted to take at 10. They liked him, but wasn't somebody I heard that they were willing to take at 10. So I think him falling to 30 was the absolute best, scenario for them able to get him. But it's cool because when I was in that room, so there is a room where you're sitting in where the players come in after they get drafted and they speak to you. You have that. Everybody's probably seen a lot of, the Jalen Carter one. and everything. So you get to ask these guys questions. While in that room, I mean, it's literally a room of like 100 reporters, right? So there's a lot of Eagles people in there. And luckily I was able to kind of become cool with some of them, talk to some of them. So one of my friends came up to me. I don't know if he wants me to say his name, but so I won't say his name, but he came up to me and was like, Joe, it was the 7th pick. And he was like, Paris Johnson's going to go here, I believe. And I think the Eagles are going to move up to number 8 to grab Jalen Carter. That's what I'm getting told. So I did put that out. I put that on my Twitter and everything. It ended up being a 1 pick after, but the picks went how we were told it was. So I knew before Jalen Carter got picked that we were going to move up to get him. It was just a matter of when and what it would take. So once I heard that, I was like, all right, so we're probably going to move up. We're probably going to move down from 30 or do something like that. But when we sat there at 30 and you're like, okay, hold on, Nolan Smith is still on the board. And everybody's in the room just like, are the Eagles really about to pull this off? It was incredible. It was crazy. I didn't expect to get 2 bona fide players, to answer your question. I really didn't expect that to happen. But, I didn't expect Jalen Carter to fall to 9. So it was a dream draft, and hopefully everything works out how it's supposed to. Hopefully they stay healthy. Hopefully they stay out there on the field, and just can produce, because I think we got some really good players.
Did you take the Jalen Carter, like the offseason stuff? How did you take that with obviously the pro day that wasn't looking good, and just that there was a real possibility because he wasn't looking at teams out of the top 10, that he was only visiting teams within the top 10. So how are you feeling about the offseason stuff, just with him in general, and believing that the Eagles could draft him?
Yeah, there was talk, I believe, even in that interview, like the full interview that I told you I was in the room. I believe somebody asked him about that and asked if he knew, and the answer he gave, he felt like the landing spot, the falling spot, was the Philadelphia Eagles. He kind of felt that he was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle going into the draft. And then you had, Jordan Davis and Nolan and the Kobe Dean telling them that they were going to be Eagles. So I think that he knew he was going to be an Eagle, so that may have had a big part in his agent, because that's really who put that out there. But his agent saying, listen, if you're not in the top 10, we're not going to waste our time. We're not going to waste your time unless you're trying to move up into the top 10. So I think that he knew he was going to be one. And as far as like the off-season stuff, I said this before, and I stayed to this because it's like I didn't personally get to sit down. Obviously, I got to, talk to him after he got drafted, but I didn't get to personally sit down with him for 20 minutes and ask him about the situation. So I don't want to make a judgment about him. It seems like it's something that he learned from, that he's going to move on from, and that, having guys like Jordan Davis, who was a big mentor to him in Georgia, I think that's going to help him. It's a maturity thing, and as long as he doesn't have another hiccup, it's something that a lot of people will soon forget or forgive, depending on what wording you want to use. So I look, Jalen Carter is an Eagle. If he was on any other team, maybe I'd blow it up a little bit more, if I'm being 100% honest. But I trust my team. I trust my front office that they're going to make the right decision when it comes to character. So I think he's a good kid. And I will say this, after talking to him, after kind of I walked with him to the next room because they have the private interviews or whatever, and I talked to him again, and I was just like, hey, if you need to learn the fight song, he laughed, he talked,
right.
And he was really nice. He was a really nice guy, very, very soft-spoken, and I wasn't expecting that. When you hear about Jalen Carter, it's almost like the Jalen Carter I heard about, I was expecting him to go to that and be like, what up, go crazy, be all cocky. He wasn't that. He was very humble, very soft-spoken, and then you see what he is on the field. So I think that he's going to be an amazing player for the Eagles. I'm excited. I have no real trepidation about what he's going to be for this team.
I think with Jalen Carter, he's been through a lot. I think this was a really tough offseason. Obviously not working out the combine, only limiting to doing certain things. And obviously the pro day didn't look good. It's a lot of politics with what happened, and I'm not going to get into that, but I think at the moment he got drafted and how emotional he was, I think it was life-changing because, looking up to Jordan Davis, even at Georgia, as a mentor, and having that, community, that those Georgia Bulldog community that is on this team now defensively, I think is really going to put him in a right direction, not just only in football, but I think in his life too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really big one. I think this was, I think him crying, and I mean, you're emotional when you get drafted. Some guys aren't, some guys are, it just depends. But I think it was extra. I think there was a little bit of extra emotion in this, in the Eagles drafting him, because he was reuniting with a lot of his teammates, and that was a big thing. And I was, I almost got me crying. I was like, damn, I was like, I had to hold tears back, man, because I felt it. Like, I felt it. I knew this was a life, getting drafted is a life-changing experience. But at the same time, when you're drafted to a team that has, you're not going into somewhere where you don't know anybody. Like, you're going to not know anybody, but know players, but don't know them personally. But when you go on a team that has people you just play with, 2 national championships, I mean, it's just insane. So I'm very happy for him. And obviously Nolan Smith joining the fun and all this I'm actually very interested to see how they use him, whether they, put him in coverage. And, I think I want to know from you, just in general, from our defensive coordinator, what have you thought from his press conference? That was a little bit ago. And, what are you kind of getting, what he wants with this defense and how he's going to treat this defense?
Yeah, Desai, man, I'm excited for Desai. I'm so excited for that boy. He has said all the right things. I feel like it's the exact opposite of how Nick Sirianni came in here. I feel like after his first interview, a lot of people were, making fun of our coach and everything, and talking about him. Whatever, it is what it is. It's in the rear view now, right? But you look at Sean Desai. I feel like his first interview, he came in here with a script and was like, okay, these are the hot words for Philadelphia. They want me to talk about being physical. They want me to be imposing. They want this. That's what I'm going to give them. So I'm hoping he sticks to everything he says, which I think he will. Because, and the reason why I feel that, not just because he says it, but because when you hear other people talk, right? When you hear all these other interviews, whether it be Nolan Smith, whether it be Terrell Edmonds, whether it be whoever it may be, you hear them echoing the same things he's saying. They're going to feel us. We want it to be felt. We want to be disruptive. We want to be violent. They're echoing the same things that their coach is echoing. So I think that that's his true philosophy. He's going to go out there and be hard-nosed. So I'm so excited for what Sean Desai is going to bring to this team, because that's what we need. At the end of the day, I'm an Eagles fan, and I love the Eagles. I'm going to love the Eagles, whether they go out there and, they twirl and do backflips down the field. I don't care what they do to win. I'm gonna love them, right? But I do miss those hard-nosed defenses. I miss seeing, Reggie Bush get his whole head knocked backwards. I miss stuff like I miss every single Brian Dawkins hit, every single Sheldon Brown hit. I miss those type of days. And I think that this is a guy that wants to bring that back. And I think he has the personnel to do that. So, even going back to Jalen Carter, he's probably going to come in here with a chip on his shoulder. I know 9 isn't nothing to cry about, right? 9 is a great spot to get drafted, but you said it yourself. He was top 2 on your board. He was top 2, if not number 1 on everybody's board. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure his as well. So I'm sure he feels some type of way. I'm sure he feels slighted, and that's scary. Nolan Smith, another guy that I'm sure feels slighted. Kaylee Ringo, he went from being I made a whole video about how Kaylee Ringo isn't a first-round guy,
right.
And people tore me apart. And he went down to the 4th round. It's incredible, the chip that is going to be on some of these talented young players' shoulders, and even the second-year players. People talking about Nakobe Dean. Now we're kind of bringing up Christian Ellis's name. Does he come out and do something? People are saying Nolan Smith is the next Fred. Well, like, these aren't even Eagles fans saying this stuff. Like, this is PFF. This is random, podcasts that have nothing to do with the Eagles. So people are on notice. Now it's on Sean Desai to put the pieces together and make it what he's saying his final picture is. But I love Sean Desai already. Like, right now, you're starting at 100. Nick started at like 60 for me. He had to keep adding points with weeks going on. But like, Desai, you're at 100. Like, I love everything you've said, everything you're about right now. You can only lose points at this point,
no, I know.
Unfortunately. So I can't wait to see what he actually does with this team.
Yeah, like, Desai is interesting because even like, being like an apprentice to Vic Fangio for a few years as like a defensive quality control guy, being on field with him, and then really going to 21 with really not having the pieces that he has now. This is probably going to be the best defense he's had personnel wise. In 21, I think he was top 10 against the pass. He was bottom 10 against the run, just didn't really have a lot of players on defense personnel wise. Top 5 in sacks. His blitz rate was 22.6%. So I don't think it can get worse. So I honestly don't think it get worse. When he said, you know, obviously talking about being violent, even when, you know, Reed Blankenship, oh, we're going to be a violent defense. You know, it was great to hear that. But but Sean Desai saying, oh, we're going to be physically, we're going to disrupt quarterbacks physically and mentally. And, you know, I think we just needed that creative defensive coordinator. Like, we just needed like a brain with a bunch of good players, and we didn't have that last year. And I think a lot of fans were saying, oh, early in the season, oh, we're winning, what does it matter, we're good. And I kept fighting it every single game, like this looks real suspect. And with the schedule that we had, and obviously from a somewhat almost last place schedule to a schedule now, it's really going to show what Sean Desai is all about. And you know, I was happy they made a change, and I think it's going to be for the better of, you know, this defense. You know, I'm not really worried about Brian Johnson so much, because I feel like we really needed that relationship with Hurts and Brian Johnson to kind of stay together. They have a really good relationship, and obviously Steichen has been, you know, and Brian Johnson have been together. And you know, I feel like the playbook will expand in some way. I feel like, you know, there'll be a lot more opportunity. They're not going to handicap Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to have a bona fide fantastic year this year. I mean, last year was just going into last year, I said, as long as Jalen Hurts plays like, you know, 20% better, you know, I'll be happy, you know. And then he played like 90% better. So it really was to see your quarterback grow, but not just that, but to have a quarterback that gravitates players towards him, for a quarterback that is so professional. It's not a social media guy. It doesn't just talk. And really all I wanted going into last year was, I want his work ethic to match with his play. And I think we did get that. You know, and you know, and he's still getting disrespect. I mean, I feel like he still gets disrespected. And it's like, now I'm supposed to feel bad because we have a GM that's supposed to do what he's supposed to do and put weapons around your quarterback. I think if you put Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts next to each other, and what the Eagles have done around them, it's night and day. It's more aggressiveness, and all we wanted was these drafts to hit. Not only did you go into this past draft and get some bona fide players, but you were doing things for next year's draft. You were trading picks for draft capital next year. You were, you know what I mean? Like, you're slated to have 11 to 12 draft selections with, you're paying a quarterback, not to mention a quarterback you're paying now between the cap hit this year and next year is like $19.5 million. Is just, I think his most expensive year is his last year, which probably won't even, they'll probably already redo his contract by that point. It's like $30 million his last year. It's insane.
Yeah, his contract was incredible. When I first saw the number, I was like, okay, I mean, that's what we thought, right? You know, it sucks. We're not gonna really have an off season. And then you see the off season, you're like, how the heck did he pull this off? So I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's funny because every time something happens, it's a new excuse, you know, especially for Jalen Hurts. It's like, 1 week he can't do this, 1 week he can't do that. The admiration, the need for quarterbacks to throw 5,000 yards and lose a bunch of games is just so incredible to me, because I don't care if he throws over 4,000 ever in his career, over 5,000 ever in his, I really don't care. Go out there and win football games. That's what you're paid to do at the quarterback position. So I love the hate because it's irrational at this point. Last year,
right.
I was telling him, I was like, yeah, you know, he's got a lot to work on. We'll see what happens. This year, it's like, I mean, I get it. You just don't like him. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think part of it too is they're not going to, even for MVP or just what he does, I don't think they're going to value, like they don't value, they're going to value the passing touchdowns over overall touchdowns, because I feel like even though passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns give you the same amount of points, they just don't respect it from him. They feel like this run scheme from him is like a downgrade from what a quarterback is supposed to be. But the league is changing every single year. And as much as, I mean, we're going to see a lot of passing touchdowns from Jalen Hurts, but that read option, that RPO, like, is just insane. So
you got I'm sorry to cut you, but you have 2 top 10 wide receivers that seem to be mighty happy on this team. So it must not be that bad, you know what I'm saying, for people that kind of rely on the passing game, right? But hey, it is what it is.
I want to thank everybody. There's 115 in the chat. I want to thank everybody for coming to the chat right now. Names people off. I'm sorry I'm late with the chat. I because the stream was I had to put I had to paste the new title in the description and stuff. I have to remember this next time. So appreciate everybody coming in. T-Puff, where are you hiding? We got Brian Bidding. We got Sydney Family. Forte, we got Brian Donahue. What's going on, guys? Lord Dagger, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good day. If you guys haven't subscribed to Joe Castro, affiliate for the podcast, his link is in the description below. If you guys want to copy, paste his link in the live chat, I would appreciate it. So everybody sub him up if you guys have a chance. Eagles content all year round from him. And obviously, if you want insider news on things that are going on, whether it's players, whether it's the combine every year, the draft, this is your guy. We actually have our own guy. Oh my God. And I can talk to Joe whenever I want to know something. I can just talk to Joe.
Yeah, you can just give me a call. And it's beautiful being called a liar. I'm gonna be honest. It is. It's one of the most exhilarating things. Because it's like, now that and I'm not bragging by any, you might one of my really, really good friends on this YouTube stuff. So, I'm not trying to brag or anything by saying this, but when you do get information, it is kind of cool to be able to be like, yo, guys, this is happening, guys. That's when I got the information on Brandon Graham, I wasn't going to post it. I was 2 or 3 days before it actually happened, but I wasn't going to post it. I was just going to, just be like, well, we'll see if this happens. But the guy that told me, I was like, you know what, whatever. I trust him. Let me see what happens. I put it out there and it happens 2 days later. All those people that were like, oh, you're a liar. You don't know what you're talking about. Were then resharing my stuff and be like, oh, I guess he does. It's funny because I was one of those people calling people liars. So it's
speaking of insider news, since this is your domain, this bit of news here I need to know more about. You're like the Quez Watkins insider.
That's my guy. That's my guy, bro.
But let's go over for real quick because I'm really bad at multitasking, obviously, as you can see. We got Sydney Family with the super chat. It says Nolan Smith may be physically bigger than expected from reports.
I mean, he does look big. I don't know what bigger than expected is. I mean, he doesn't look different from what I saw him. I didn't see him at the combine, personally. I didn't see him up at the podium, but he doesn't look different than he did. I don't know. It depends on what you mean bigger than expected. Does he look a little bit stronger? I mean, yeah, maybe, but we're also hitting pads right now, so it's kind of hard to really say that.
Right. And I think, I mean, he went to that Von Miller camp, which is great. Working with Micah Parsons, a few other guys, which is awesome. So really working his tail off this offseason. I mean, this is the time now, between now and, Nick was at the end of OTAs, he's like, you guys, stay off the internet. Don't get in trouble. Right. Don't be stupid. I get it. I think this team will be fine. I'm never really worried about any of that stuff. So appreciate the super chat, Sydney, a lot for that. So Quez Watkins, man, I don't even know, between, signing, obviously, the receiver core, it would be nice to have some depth towards it. And obviously a lot of undrafted guys, you have Jaden Hazelwood and, Charleston Rambo, Joseph Nagata that got paid the most, the highest undrafted free agent money. And, Olamide Zacchaeus, I know I'm saying his name wrong. I don't care. So just to say, trade rumors with Quez? I mean, there's so much going on. Do the Eagles like Quez Watkins? I feel like they do, but is there something going on where now we found out during camp or during OTAs that, from John McMullen, I heard on the show, I think a few days ago or last week, he said, there was, Nick kind of went to his protection, the camp standout, and it was like, hey, I think Quez is having a good job, and you know what, that's the coach's job, protecting your players, being that player's coach. That's what he's supposed to do. But when it came down to, there was Quez gets really good separation, and then there was a part in OTAs where he just drops the ball, he's got the Nelson Aguilar hiccups a little bit. And does that? What have you heard so far? I'll just go with it.
I'll just go with that.
I'll just skip to that.
Nah, man, I love him. So just as a little bit of clarity, I know a lot of people that he works out with. I know his trainer and stuff like that. So during the off season, I'm a big fan of Quez, regardless of who I know, regardless of anything like that. I'm a big fan of Quez. So, I asked about him. I did. I was just like, what's going on with him, bro? I know a lot of Eagles fans are upset with him. How do you, I asked a friend of mine, what do you think? What have you seen? Have you seen anything? And he just was basically told me what I tweeted, and that he was looking really, really good. He has a mentality that people are hating on him, and he wants to go out there and prove him wrong. Added a little bit of muscle, is refining his routes. But he does. I mean, Nick Sirianni said it best. He does feel like people are doubting him right now. And I think that that's fair. I think that a lot of people are doubting him. And I bias aside, I know probably I'm not the person that people want to hear this from, but I say this till I'm blue in the face. Like, I know that those mistakes that he made are in the worst times possible.
Right.
But when you put the number of mistakes that he's made comparatively to any other number 3 in this league, it is really not that bad. It was just bad timing. It really was. And I totally get it. And I think he totally gets it. And I even said this, I had his trainer on, I think towards the end, after the Super Bowl, right before the Super Bowl, I want to say one of the two, he had like 5 different wide receivers that he trained that were in the Super Bowl. Juju was one of them. And Kadarius Toney was actually one of them as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So I talked to him about that. And even then he was saying, he was like, Quez knows he's not doing well. Quez knows that he's messing up in big moments. And that's not something that's going to make him just go in the corner and cry. That's going to make him work harder. So I truly believe, and I'm going to be proven either right or wrong this year, right? A lot of people are. I truly believe that this year he's going to go out there and ball out, because I think that he knows what he can do. And I think that we should know what he can do too. As Eagles fans, we should know. I mean, we've seen him take little screen routes and go 90 yards with him. We've seen him make some really, really big plays for the Eagles, some really, really good catches, bailing Jalen Hurts out a couple of times as well. So I mean, I understand getting upset about the mistakes, but I think we should be open to what Quez Watkins is going to be this year, because I know for a fact he's been putting that work in this offseason. And I know what I'm already. I don't even have to look at the comments. I know people are good. Well, it's just training camp. Hopefully he can do it when the game counts. Well, let's see what happens. Let's say. I just think. Imagine you were working a job and you made 3 mistakes, right? And everybody else makes 40 mistakes a day, right? But those 3 mistakes were just at bad times, and that's all people remember you from. So I feel like that's where Quez is, but he has a really good foundation around him outside of football and inside the team. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, even Jalen Hurts, a lot of these guys are backing him up on and off the field. So I think he'll be fine, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I really don't.
They're calling him Quez Dropkins now.
Yeah, I don't get it.
You know what I mean?
Don't get it. It was 3 drops. It was 3 drops.
Well, I know. In the year prior, what do you have? Like
1,
2, 1? Yeah, it was really low. Like, yeah, like that's how Eagles fans are. It's like he makes a mistake, boom, I want you. You're out.
Yeah, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I replay that drop in the Super Bowl over and over again. I replay the fumble that he had against Washington over and over again. Those mistakes were huge mistakes, and at the worst time, right? So I 100% get that. I do, but to think that we can do much better than Quez, because this is where a lot of fans lose me, because it's like, all right, we got to get better than Quez, and it's like, okay, you can do that. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely players that are better out there, but you're going to have to pay them more. You're going to have to maybe give something up to get them. It's not just like just bring anybody on and they'll be better than Quez. I am against that thought process 100%. I don't think that just anybody can come on this team and take Quez's job. We saw that with Pascal last year. He didn't take his job. So, and I don't think maybe this is a hot take, but from what I'm hearing and what I'm, the little bit that I've been able to see, but mostly from what I'm hearing, Olamide doesn't sound like he's taking Quez Watkins' job either. So we'll see what happens. And again, maybe that's a hot take, but
Olamide is interesting because I feel like they can, like even last year was his best year with a really bad Falcons offense, really bad. I mean, over 500 yards, a couple touchdowns, but he's a pure slot. He's a pure slot guy. And I feel like they can actually use him if they, for the short stuff, for the slants or for screen passes or something like that, if they really want to do that. But the thing with Quez, it was interesting because I was at like the Vikings game, prime time. It was fantastic when he was wide open downfield. It was great. I just love the separation that he gets. And it was awesome. Then prior, it was like after the Steelers game. And then like, throughout from the Steelers game onto the Super Bowl, really at the end of the year, at the end of the year, we found out he had a grade 2. I don't know if this happened during the season because like I didn't hear nothing about a grade 2 shoulder sprain until like the end of the year that he had an injury. And, I feel like when Dallas Goedert went down, they utilized Zach Pascal a lot more. They did, Zach Pascal was more of the, was really mostly a blocker. And then they gave him more opportunities. Then they started using more double tie and sets with Stahl and Calcaterra. and then attacking, with Devontae Smith a lot more. I felt like they attacked more with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown together. Devontae Smith was just like an out route slant. It was like little stupid things. And then I think when Goddard went down, they really utilized him a lot more, because I think with Quez, he wasn't playing consistent games at the end of the year. And then you put him in that one play in the Super Bowl where it could have been one of the biggest catches, and he drops it right through his hand. That's what really annoyed me. And I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, but he wasn't playing consistent games. And yet you put him in that moment with, I guess, to build his confidence, I guess, to really put him in the spot. Like, is he reliable? That's where I kind of came out of the season. Like, is he going to be a reliable number 3? But for everything we've heard so far, and obviously, bulking up a little bit, put on some muscle, and, going on Twitter, and, when Zacchaeus was signed, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's our guy. That's, screw Quez Watkins. That's pretty much where it came down to. And he was like, I'm going to make y'all eat your words, said on Twitter, so I like that, there's a fight to him, which is awesome.
And so, I think adding that, I'm sorry to cut you, but adding that weight, adding that muscle. I know when I put that out there, people were like, oh, what is muscle going to do to help you catch? It helps you hold the ball. It helps you, that catch, especially in the Super Bowl. I think that if he was a little bit stronger, he's able to grab that ball and pull it in. He was draped all over, don't get me wrong, but I think a little bit of strength goes a long way in that situation. So I think this man, Quez is gonna break out this year. I really feel it. He gonna make people eat their words, and I'm excited to see it. I am excited to see it.
Dude, all I have been doing is supporting that guy. Like, I like his fight, I like his attitude, I like his work ethic. Like, I have nothing against Quez Watkins at all, because as soon as like the DeAndre Hopkins stuff comes out, and then it's like, I don't care what these football players say on podcasts, even though we do report it, but what you say and what you do are two different things. Right. And if he's looking for you're not, Hopkins isn't going to go to a good team that has, less cap space. He's not going to go to a good team that's already built right now and want to get paid whatever, 23 a year. I don't know what he wants. Okay. So I'm not really on the bandwagon of going after a DeAndre Hopkins. If he was like real cheap, he's like, oh, I'm into the culture, I'm not going to be selfish, I don't care how many touches I get. What's going to make him look good? Is he better being the AFC, or is he better being the NFC right now? What team is he? He's going to the Titans, the Patriots. Like, what are you going to do with those two teams right now? So I don't know what you take from the DeAndre Hopkins stuff. And at least now he's actually visiting teams. So obviously, if he doesn't visit the Eagles, then we know there's no interest, or they're just out of the range of what he wants, or they just have no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think Hopkins is going to happen. I think that DeAndre Hopkins was probably a call that Howie made day one. Like, once he found out everything was going down, he probably called and was like, so Hop, what you thinking? How much you want? And once he said a double-digit number, he was probably like, all right, D-Hop, have a great day. I can't wait to see you play next year. Good luck, buddy. That's just not in our cards. And it doesn't make sense. I won't say that he wouldn't fit our team. I mean, D-Hop is probably a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer. I don't think that that's really saying anything crazy. I think he's one of the best wide receivers, honestly, of our generation. So I think that he would fit anywhere. Don't get me wrong. And if the Eagles, if the breaking news hit 5 minutes, that we got DeAndre Hopkins, nobody's going to be mad. But it's true. I don't think that we need him. And when you're looking at a third guy, Quez Watkins got, I think, like 40 receptions this year or something like that. Yeah. It was totally different from the year prior to that, even, where it was him and Jalen Reagor. So a lot of things changed in one quick off season. Not only that, like you said, they put him in here and there. It was very sporadic. And, I will use your weapon against you, kind of, because, you said, is he reliable because of that drop in the Super Bowl? I would say that shows trust. That shows the trust that Jalen Hurts has in him. That shows the trust that Nick Sirianni has in him, and that this team has in him. If you don't trust your guy, you don't give him any touches, right? Miles Sanders, I think he'll attest to that. If you don't trust your guy, he doesn't see the ball. So, I mean, Quez has the trust from his team. It's unfortunate what happened, and I'm sure he's going to be reliving that moment until he hopefully gets another chance to kind of maybe make a new moment, right? But even if we win a Super Bowl, he's going to be thinking about that drop. Even if he wins 5 Super Bowls, I'm sure he's going to be thinking about that drop. So it'll get better. I think it'll get better. And D-Hop, I would love to see him on this team. It would be cool. But again, yes, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I don't think it takes us from not a Super Bowl team to a Super Bowl team. I think right now there is maybe 2 or 3 guys, 2 or 3 holes on this team that I'm looking at that I'm like, if you can shore that up somehow, maybe we'll, get a little bit better. But I think this is a Super Bowl team. It's about whether you're going to win it or not.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the window is wide open right now, and I mean, I don't think I don't think any of these undrafted guys are going to make noise. Maybe if we're taken by surprise, maybe, but I'm not going to put too much into it. I think Zacchaeus is going to be strictly a depth piece if needed, and you have to think about it because what if Devontae, knock on wood for both, but what if Devontae Smith goes down? Yeah. Who's going to replace AJ Brown if he gets, if he's out for a couple games? You know what I mean? So you always have to think about that. That's a big weapon that you lose, and who could replace that? We don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep cutting you off. But
you're good.
I saw an article about Quez Watkins getting cut, that he might be a surprise cut. If that ever happened, I don't remember who wrote it because I really didn't read the most of it because I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. If that happens, I will be the most shocked Eagles fan in the world, to be honest, because that makes zero sense to me. But yeah, I saw that article and I was like, I hope somebody talks about this because this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't think the Eagles would just cut him. Like if they were able to do anything with him, if they want to move on, I think they would trade him if there was opportunity there to trade him. If there was rumors that there was that they had him on the trade block and they're looking, I don't know. I until I actually see anything that's more concrete, I'm not going to believe it because I really think they like Quez Watkins a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
But moving on, the running back situation is interesting this year. I think the third day of the draft, third days of drafts are always like you're just going through the motions, you're sitting there, you're eating your popcorn, you're doing whatever. And it was the most exciting day because even before the draft started, they moved up in the 7th round like aggressively, and obviously Keely Ringo was still on the board, and I think we all knew that was going to be the pick, and it happened. It was great. And then by the middle of that round, the trade for DeAndre Swift for a 25 4th rounder.
Yeah, we gave him like nothing.
It's a joke. It's a joke, man. Were you surprised that Jahmyr Gibbs, look, because I kind of went to go tell everybody, if teams, I don't know why the Falcons, yes, the Falcons got an offensive line, they get a running back, with the 8th pick, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I don't still think they know if they have a quarterback yet. You get a quarterback in the top 10. You get a running back in the top 10 if you have a quarterback that's really, with 1 year, you really have to see what he does the second year. But were you surprised? 2 questions. Were you surprised on Gibbs? Obviously, 2 running backs being taken top 15, and what were your first reactions to getting DeAndre Swift in a trade?
I would say once Bijan got drafted, I wasn't surprised that Jahmyr Gibbs went so quick, just because there was a big, and it's funny because I was saying this all offseason. I was like, there's a huge gap when it comes to Bijan, then Jahmyr, and then everybody else. There was a huge gap. But yeah, no, I was not that surprised when that happened. I was surprised that Bijan went so early, but once he went, I was like, all right, yeah, Jahmyr is going to go really quick. Yeah, but Bijan, it's an interesting case, man. Bijan is such a nice guy. He's I got to talk to him a couple of different times out there. So he is such a nice dude. And I was never one to be like, Bijan is going to be the pick. But after talking to him, it's like, you kind of want him to be, because he was such a good person. But even talking to him after he got drafted, he had a pretty good feeling that he was going to go where he was at. Atlanta, right, is where he went. He had a pretty good feeling that was where he was going to end up, is what he said. Jahmyr Gibbs, I guess, is more of a surprise. I guess from the outside looking in, because he didn't really seem like he had an idea where he was going. It just kind of, happened that way. But as a fan, as somebody that was kind of paying attention to all the draft stuff prior to it all, it was like, all right, if Bijan's going that high, Jahmyr is probably not too far to follow because he is that good. And then DeAndre Swift, I was very surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I think I was walking to the draft the third day. Me and my girl just kind of relaxed and went out to the actual draft and watched it. And we both got the notification. I think Eagles fan came up to us and was telling us, "Hey, did you see what happened with Swift?" And we were like, what? And we like literally look at the our phone and we
Oh,
get
you made that video outside, didn't you? You made that video outside.
I made the video right outside, a little short. I think I made right outside of the draft and everything. That's where I found out right at that moment. So it was crazy. It definitely was crazy. And look, if DeAndre Swift, this is the biggest if game I think that the Eagles have had in a long time. I mean, because even last year, you look at Jalen Hurts, and it's like, if he gets a little bit, it really, I think I was with you. If he plays about the same, doesn't regress, I thought we were going to be still a better team than we were that first year. But I think if these running backs can stay healthy, this might be one of the best running games in the league and one of the best running games we've seen in a while. I mean, when's the last time you could really say a team's been this deep at the running back position or even in just general in runners, right? Because if you look at what Olamide has done a lot in Atlanta was taking some, end arounds, taking screens, taking stuff like that. So he's going to be part of the running game. You look at Quez Watkins, he's a guy that I think I see some people even in the comments saying that he needs to be involved more in the running game. I think that you look at obviously what Jalen Hurts can do as a runner. You look at Rashad Penny, I think is a guy that's kind of going under the radar a little bit. Kenny Gainwell has gone completely under the radar. Boston Scott, another guy, and then you got guys on the practice squad. I still want to see what Trey Sermon got. Kennedy Brooks is an interesting guy. So many runners. So I think that, again, it's a huge what-if game, but if these guys can stay healthy, this might be the funnest rushing attack we've probably ever seen as an Eagles fan. So I was excited for DeAndre Swift, but I was realistic about it. I'm going to be real. Like, this guy got to stay healthy for us. But if he does, we got a dog. We have an absolute dog. My ducks are going crazy about it. Every time I talk about DeAndre Swift, they're just quacking away. So
dude, like I feel like, I mean, it was, like I think it's really all about health. I mean, this is why you got them for cheap. I mean, a 5th round pick for a 4th round pick for 25 is like it's a joke. It's like you got him for nothing really with a small cap hit. And Penny was, $600,000 for the year. I mean, that's why with some incentives involved, but he's playing for himself. There was rumors about maybe a possible contract extension maybe with Swift. Swift is he's 24 years old. He's young, man. Like, insane. You're not picking up a 30-year-old running back in the offseason. You're picking up a guy's dealt with some injuries. He missed 3 games last year. Penny only played 5 last year, maybe for the better because he had more time to rehab and it wasn't a late injury, so I guess that helped us a little bit. But if there is some way they could keep these guys healthy, at least one of them staying healthy. And Swift, I don't know. Swift is just different for me because he's never been with a mobile quarterback since high school. He hasn't. Yeah. Just to see, like, he can cut on a dime at 100% speed. It's just insane. Like, if you can get Swift or to get Penny to the second level every time they run the football,
and
it's so dangerous. It's then it takes pressure off Jalen Hurts. You don't have to run so many QB sneaks a year, even though it's been very effective and very successful. You have all these running backs that have different skill sets now. They even have in Boston Scott, and everyone thinks like I hate Kenneth Gainwell, or we hate Kenneth Gainwell now. No, it's like I think Kenneth Gainwell for a 5th round pick. I mean, he's playing amazing. Like He's not dancing too much. He just takes the ball and he can make it 9 out of 10 times in open space one-on-ones. He makes guys miss. He could spin. He could do a whole bunch of stuff. I think Kenneth Gainwell, we used him more in that passing game last year.
Yeah.
And we kind of used Kenneth Gainwell more in red zone, a little bit. Like if Miles Sanders was kind of phased out a little bit on certain things. Really, how Doug used Miles Sanders to how Nick used him are 2 different things. And I totally agree with you on giving other guys like Trey Sermon, even Kenny Brooks. Like, I feel like he never really had. You had 2 preseason games last year, and they just like ran him up the middle ones to the left, to the right. I mean, preseason, I feel like now I know why Nick values the joint practices a lot more than preseason games. I don't know, because I guess because you're facing starters, you're facing possible starters, and these guys will get more opportunity that way. But I actually will like the preseason this year, since we know that Hurts, the offense and the defense, are not going to get much of a shot. They're going to play like one series and that's pretty much it. So we'll see a lot of the back end to this roster with a lot of positions in preseason, which isn't a bad thing at all. But I mean, Penny has done a number on us over the years, and Swift, even the first game last year, he got some good runs on us. But with a better offensive line, a better quarterback, and weapons up and down the board. I mean, it's just I can't wait to see that number 0 just flourish.
And a team that's actually used to a guys being healthy now. Remember a couple years ago, I felt like every other week, even before I started doing my channel, I would come on your channel and you would just be like, damn, another 3 people injured this week. And I felt like every year it was like I did 3 cornerbacks down this week. 4 tight ends down this. We were getting cheerleaders with ACL injuries. It was crazy being an Eagles fan for a while. You know, you can't say it because it's excuses, but you know, it was just crazy being an Eagles fan for a while. So now having a couple years, and maybe I should knock on wood here, but you know, having a couple years of just healthy team, right? I mean, this has been good. I'm hoping that this year is another year, but under Nick, we've been pretty healthy. So I'm hoping that continues, and maybe that helps players like, you know, DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny. But man, I have to keep saying if, because I don't want to get myself too hyped up. But if these guys can stay healthy, it's like, what the heck are you going to do to stop us? And, you know, even deeper than getting another wide receiver, if Quez doesn't do well, or if Alameda isn't the guy you thought he was, you can still line up Penny outside. You can line him up wide. You can line up, maybe not Boston Scott out wide. You can line up DeAndre Swift out wide. Like, these guys are guys that you can definitely put them in the slot. You can definitely get them in the passing game as well. So there's so many. There can literally be times where you have 2, you know, DeAndre Swift and a Rashad Penny, excuse me, I was going to say Penny Hardaway, a Rashad Penny, and then you can have an AJ Brown and a Devontae Smith out wide with a Dallas Goedert. Who is going to stop this?
Oh no. I think it's gonna be insane. It's like I said, it's like you said, you know, keep these guys healthy. And if a guy ends up getting injured, you know, for a couple of games, you know, I have no problem with Penny taking more snaps. Or I mean, I would use Penny as a finisher, because I mean, I have so many ideas they could use these running backs. There's so many different things they could do with all them. Is you know, Swift can be more of the focal point in this offense, you know what I mean? And I feel like he kind of will, you know what I mean? Not saying that Kenneth Gainwell or any of these guys will take a back seat, but you know, you can only distribute the ball so much. Obviously, this offense runs through AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. That's you know, that's what Nick said. That, you know, that's when it comes to the passing game. That's what it's all about. So I'm excited for that. So
I want to see them run earlier. That's one thing I want to see them fix with the run game, because that was something that kind of upset me last year. It was like a lot of times, and I get it, like when you're up 24-0, it makes sense to just run the clock out in the second half, but use some of that clock in the beginning too. You know, first half, go run some of that clock out. Take some pressure off your defense a little bit. And I think that would help us a lot this upcoming year. So I want to see them utilize that run game a lot more in the first half.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. A few more things definitely want to go over. We got 157 in the chat. Appreciate being here. If you guys haven't subscribed to Philly the podcast, Joe Castro, check out his channel. I put his link in the live chat. I'll put it in there again. Check the description and definitely sub him up. Eagles content all year round. And obviously when training camp starts, we're all going to be very we're going to have no life. So
yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait.
That's what's going to happen. I wish we could be there. Trust me. I wish you could be there. I wish you could actually just watch practice. That would be.
I do too. You know, it's crazy because this year I was trying to get down to camp for like to get my credentials for the open media practices, but it wouldn't have even made sense. Like, I live in Florida, so like going to Philly for 2 days, that I didn't even know which 2 days, you know, they were gonna allow us to go in. So I was. God bless that I didn't go, but because I probably would have been pissed off. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm definitely gonna try and get to one of the open practices though.
So a few more things. Definitely want to go over the Miles Sanders comments. Oh man, saltiness. That's what I'm sensing. That Super Bowl, obviously, between, you know, I think, what was it, like 50 yards, not even 50 yards between all the running backs. You know, it was obviously the passing game that was working out. So obviously Miles Sanders said things about he should have had more opportunity in the Super Bowl, should have had more, you know, he would have been the difference maker, I guess. Do you think he would have been the difference maker, Joe? Is Miles being too salty about it?
I'll say twofold. I think that I understand where Miles is coming from, because as an athlete, as anybody in any type of competitive, you know, arena, right? You feel like there's something you could have done, whether or not it's true. You always feel like I could have done something, right? But no, there was he wasn't gonna have it. He wasn't. I won't say he was the reason we lost that game, But didn't he have like a fumble in like the first two drive? One of the first two drive, like he fumbled the ball. He just wasn't really getting much production. Maybe in the passing game we could have utilized him a bit more. I was surprised that we straight up just took him out. I was surprised that Kenneth Gainwell got so much burn, but you know, I get it. I do get it, and I like Miles Sanders, and I'll always like Miles Sanders. I'm a Penn State fan, so yeah, I liked him before he came to Philly. I get it. You know, he probably shouldn't have said it. He probably should have just kind of kept his mouth shut. It does seem like he just is very upset, but I don't understand why you would be that upset. Like, we went to the Super Bowl. Your number wasn't called as much. You should just be happy that we went to the Super Bowl and say, hey, I'm mad that my team didn't win, not I didn't get to do this. I think that part is
and to be fair, like, you know, it's just I thought, you know, I feel like he could have done more. I felt like, I don't know if it was a trust issue with him in the passing game. It felt like he was underutilized so much. He got over 1,000 yards. He could have done so much more. But really, at the end of the day, like, I think what his best years were really his rookie year and his last year. I mean, really, between he's had a fumbling problem, he's had a drop problem in the past. You know, injuries, especially 21 was, you know, an injury. Then they gave him the most carries in the wild card game. And obviously that game was just a total, you know, disaster within itself from the start, really. 10 minutes, it was over. So
I was there. You know, I was terrible. I was there.
I feel like, you know, it's just, I don't know, maybe Miles is just not Nick's type of receiver. I mean, type of running back. I don't know. I feel like they just didn't, you know, I just feel like Miles could have the way Doug used him his rookie year. Oh my God, as a dual threat and going out for passes, and, you know, just it was amazing. But
yeah, Miles
is what it is.
I feel like that was Miles. Like, if we had to make a gravestone for his career, we would just be like, why didn't Booby get the ball? Like, you know, I felt like after every game we asked that, like, why didn't Miles get the ball? Why isn't Miles getting the ball? I was just he just didn't get enough touches throughout his career. It's weird. It's a really weird case. But I think he's a great player. I think he'll do good in Carolina. You know, it sucks, but I will. It will be interesting to see what happens with the running backs we have now, because now it does become because if you do give a Rashad Penny or a DeAndre Swift an extension, I'll be kind of surprised, especially if it's in the same monetary range as what Miles Sanders got, because I think that DeAndre Swift, you can make an argument about, is he better than, you know, Miles Sanders when healthy? You can make a definite argument there. But Rashad Penny, I don't think you really can. And plus you have the injury issue. So if they get a long-term deal, or even like a short-term short 2-3 year deal, and get $6 million and something in that range, I'll be kind of surprised, to be honest, because I'll be like, why not just give that to Miles? If I'm being like, Miles,
Joe, he wasn't worth $6 million a year. I mean, even for one, if he had like 2 1,000-yard seasons, or maybe 3, then you know, maybe I would have paid him. But true. I think Swift is 1,000,000% better. I think Swift is just, I'm sorry, but I've seen this guy do so much damage throughout the league and what he could do. Like, that guy stays healthy.
That's the thing.
I'm praying for those. I'm praying for those defenses. That's all I can say.
I'm probably being a little bit biased because, like I said, Penn State. But, you know, I think Miles is just one of those guys that, you know, even in Penn State, he was so loyal to Penn State, standing behind Saquon Barkley for so long. And then he comes to Philadelphia, and it feels like every year he's getting underused, and he stays loyal, you know. And then for this to happen, it is kind of frustrating, because it's like, just leave, you know. You just go, and you ain't got to say nothing. I mean, you ain't got to give us no fire. Like, come on.
Yeah, maybe he's always felt like he was always a shadow within someone else's greatness. Maybe he always thought, like, you know, he was always the underdog, and, you know, then he finally gets a starting role. And I thought he's done well for us, but I knew they weren't going to resign him. Even $6 million a year, the Eagles could have paid that. There was no problem with that, but they don't pay running backs. They because with this offensive line you have right now, you could do whatever you want. Not that you could plug in any player in the league, but you got to have some type of skill. But for the value that you did get for Penny, which is a great value for, you know, what, you know, low, you know, high reward for what he could do, and getting Swift is just, you know, you're getting a Philly guy in the building. I mean, all Jalen Hurts and Swift got to do is nod their heads at each other, and boom, it's over. It's done.
And a Georgia guy too, DeAndre Swift, another Georgia guy. Yeah, another guy that played with Jalen Carter, and I think he played with Jalen Carter. Pretty sure he played with Jalen Carter.
I think he did. Yeah,
and Nolan Smith. So I mean, you know, we're the Philly Bulldogs. It's nice though. I think that it's very. I think that chemistry part of the game has been very underrated for so long, And I think that even if you look at those, and I'm not comparing us to the Patriots or Nick Sirianni to Bill Belichick, I'm not doing that. But if you look at the New England Patriots, their core throughout most of their championships was the same. It might have changed, after a couple of championships, 3 or 4 championships in a row, whatever it was, but they've always had that continuity. They always knew who was kind of there. There wasn't many like big name signings or big names leaving the Patriots. And I think that's kind of where you are with the Philadelphia Eagles. You have your core, which I talked about all off season last year. Like we had to figure out what that was. And I think you now kind of know, okay, I'm moving forward with Jalen, AJ Brown, and Devontae in Dallas on my offense. And obviously you got your offensive line. Defensively, I think now is when you're going to start to find that out. I think defensively, we're going to figure out, is Nakobe Dean that guy? Are one of these safeties going to make something shake? Is Reed Blankenship really going to be that guy? Is Terrell Edmonds going to kind of keep his career going? There's a lot of questions. Sidney Brown, is he going to be that guy, coming from Canada? We don't have many Canadian cornerback safeties, so it'll be nice to see if he could be that guy. And there's a couple guys, right? The cornerbacks room, it's so deep. There's so many players.
I know.
Will one of those guys kind of make a name for themselves? Because I think the cornerback room, while we did just re-sign James Bradbury, obviously Darius Slay is back and everything. Avonte Maddox isn't going anywhere anytime soon. You still have an opportunity to go ahead and take one of those future spots. I mean, a guy like Kay Lee, a guy like, I'm trying to think. I don't have much faith in Greedy, but Greedy can even be another guy like Greedy. He can be a guy that definitely makes a name for himself. And next year, you're looking at possibly a starting spot. So there's a lot of question marks on the defensive side, but there's a lot of talent. So I think that we're going to figure that out this year as well.
Yeah, no, like we'll go over real quick. Safety definitely is interesting. I mean, they had a lot of bodies. Obviously, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson thing didn't go through. We've talked about that in the past, the backloaded contract and how fair and unfair it kind of was. And then really the plan B option for Terrell Edmonds, not the best tackler in the world, but obviously, is a nice stopgap player for the Eagles, was going to sign that long-term deal with the Steelers, backed out, was like, nope, I'm going to Philadelphia. I want to be a part of their culture. He rather took that 1-year deal, which that's the type of culture that we have here now. And just, this team was just in the Super Bowl. So, I think Sidney Brown is going to make a lot of noise. I have a really good feeling about him. Obviously he was a big Red Star player for the Scouts, how to exemplify himself on what it is to be a Philadelphia Eagle when it comes to his play, when it comes to his tape study. I think in his class, I think he was like top 3, top 4 in coverage as a safety. He's in a very interesting way. Even at his Senior Bowl, he was, they're putting him against 4-3 speed receivers. He was knocking balls down, big tight ends. He was knocking balls down. He was doing such a good job. So it might rattle that safety position a little bit. Now, I don't know if they're going to go after Buda Baker. I don't know if they have interest in that right now, but I feel like they have a lot of bodies. You have Justin Evans in there that's mostly been hurt every single year, but he's a veteran guy that's in the building right now that can play nickel and stay at safety. Even Keely Ringo is another one where, do you want to wait 3 years down the road for him to be a corner? Like, I understand, like, Bradbury coming back. There was a lot of loyalty signings that came back. Fletcher came back for less money. Bradbury was the big surprise, I think, of the offseason. As you said, I think he was the biggest surprise because he could have got 15-16 million a year. And he got, he's getting paid 13-14. Slay and all the stuff that happened with him and going to Baltimore and leaving the Eagles out of nowhere and then coming back. So he'll be here for 2 years. Bradbury will be here 3 years. Ringo, obviously, I think he could be that contact safety for us. I feel like he's got the build for it. I think he's got the downhill speed for it. I think they should try to cross train. I'm not saying just put him at safety, but just cross train him, see what he could do. So I think between Sidney Brown and maybe cross training, Keely Ringo at safety, I think you can make some noise at that position, for training camp and what's to come of the season.
Yeah, I like Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown was one of my top, I'll say 3 or 4. There was only 5 safeties in this draft class that I actually liked.
Yeah.
Gonna be 100% honest with you. There was maybe 5. I really didn't like this safety class, but he was one of them. And I'm not just saying that just because we drafted him, but he was definitely one of them. Sidney Brown is a dog. I mean, he's a very smart player as well. And I think that's something that goes untalked about a little bit too much because he is a very, very just intellectual player, loves to study the game, just one of those guys, when you read about him, when you look up, stories about him and stuff, and I think even if you hear some of the interviews, people talking about him, he's a guy that's going to study the game. He's going to ask a bunch of questions. He's going to, try to pick his coach's brain. He's that guy that a lot of people in school, when you're in school and you're in class, your classmates hate that person because they make you wait after school a little bit because they get,
right.
well, hold on, I got a question about this, but hold on, I got a question about this. But he dissects the game like that. So I think that he's going to be a huge addition, not just as far as what he does as a player. Maybe this year isn't, he doesn't take off, running, but I think this year at the very worst, he's going to push everybody else in that room to be kind of a bookworm like he is, or a film junkie like he is. So I think it's a lot of these guys are going to have an impact on this team, whether it be on or off the field. And that's huge. I think even a guy, like Jordan Davis, a guy like Cam Jurgens last year, these guys still had impacts on this team. Might not have been seen on the field, but I think that they still had an impact in those rooms. And you want to build a strong room. That's what the NFL is about. That's why, these NFL teams spend money on bringing 35, 40-year-old quarterbacks back to be, backups, because it's so important to have good rooms. So, yeah, I mean, I think that all these guys have important roles, and, Sidney Brown is no different. And like I said, I'm excited to see what he does, because if he can put it all together in year one, he's going to be scary. He's going to be scary because he does have a lot of tools to work from. But Kaylee, he's what, 20 years old? I think he's still only 20 years old. That kid is one of the most interesting prospects in a long time. And I thought he was a really good cornerback coming out of the draft. I thought, hey, if he goes in the second round, I get it. Don't get me wrong. If he went late first, I get it. Don't get me wrong. But he can be scary. Like if he just, it's mainly technique with him. That's really what it is. And it's really just knowing his position. But if he gets it together, that boy is going to be something different. Like he really is, man.
Yeah, no, I feel really good about it. Definitely with this. I mean, they had a lot of bodies there. Like I felt like, after Chauncey went, after that went down, because I think, giving up 2 draft picks for him, and I think like the long-term thing for what the Eagles wanted, if he worked out, was they were going to give him an extension. And it was obviously going to be that 3-year extension, which was going to, then they were going to be solidified. They're, maybe going to add another body or two, and that was really it. But there's going to be a lot of competition here. I think we'll do two more things real quick. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to, I know you got stuff to do.
You good, brother?
So linebacker is interesting because I feel like linebackers, as right now, a big question mark. And so since it is a question mark, I feel like it is the weakest position on our defense right now. Obviously with Nakobe Dean, which I wasn't, obviously TJ Edwards was a good player. I get, obviously he has his flaws. They weren't coverage linebackers or used the right way. And I really wasn't a big fan of Kaiser White, to be honest. I feel like he had a good offseason, and then I don't know, he didn't really do much during the year. So I feel like Nakobe Dean should have got some snaps last year. Obviously showed some nice sample sizes when we were up by multiple touchdowns. He would get in some games. Even that Titans game was probably his best game, making tackles all over the place. The one-handed to, Derrick Henry and all that great stuff. Like he's just one of those linebackers, he's a field general, man. I feel it. I feel good about it. I'm not really worried. I feel good about it. What I'm worried is Nicholas Morrow, like the tangent piece next to him. And then behind that, is it going to be Ellis that's making some OTA, news here and there? Or, is Davion Taylor going to, Davion Taylor had a really good season in 21. Him and TJ Edwards were a really good pairing. He got hurt with that knee injury. He didn't come back, and he got hurt again last year. Kyron Johnson, I felt like they should do more with him at defensive end than they should do at outside linebacker. I don't know. I felt like from the Senior Bowl tape that I watched, I felt like he's got that pushback attitude. He might be a little undersized. He's got that 4.3 speed, but I feel like that maybe they should take him out of outside linebacker, but we'll see. And then now Patrick Johnson from outside linebacker to, defensive end, playing defensive end last year. So I feel like they could add another piece to this group. And what do you think about the linebacker core in general?
I mean, yeah, I definitely think if you look at the safety group and the linebacker group, I think those are the two probably biggest question marks on this team, maybe outside of like punter. I know a lot of people will probably bring up punter. But, I was told, and I'm going to say this because, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to really take this, but I was told that they felt coming out of the OTAs that they felt comfortable with their linebacking group. Now, what you said was kind of perfect because, TJ Edwards was never a big name. He did good for us. Alex Singleton was never a big name. He did pretty good for us, and he's still doing pretty well. So the Eagles have found people out of nowhere, and so maybe we don't have somebody that's amazing, but they feel comfortable. So we'll see what that means. So to me, comfort means they're probably not going to make a move there. We'll see. I mean, there's a guy, there's Miles Jack out there that makes sense as a free agent. You don't have to give up anything, but obviously there are a couple of linebackers that are available now, right? So I don't think the Eagles are going to do anything at linebacker. I think if anything does happen, it's going to be at safety. And I don't know if they would go all the way for a Budda Baker or a Kevin Byard like people might want. It'll be interesting. They could go for a veteran. You know what I'm saying? They could, but I think if they're gonna make a move, it's gonna be at the safety spot. But to answer your question, I actually am interested in this linebacking group. Not so much in Nicholas Morrow, because I don't think that he's very athletic. Well, I'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I think that Christian Ellis is going to be an interesting person. I don't think he'll start. But Davion Taylor is the guy I'm looking at. To be 100% honest with you, that I think that this is it for him. If he can't make some type of role, I don't see him coming back to this team, and I think that he understands that as well. And if he can't make that role in the training camp, I really don't see this guy coming back. So I think that come training camp, if we're not hearing Davion Taylor's name, then I'll be really worried about this linebacking core. But right now, I think that between Davion Taylor, Christian Ellis, something's going to shake. Something's going to work out. And then you can still have Nolan Smith with his hand up, which I'm hearing a lot of guys are kind of into that idea. You can still have a Hassan Reddick with his hand up playing that linebacker role. I know people don't love that. I know, people don't want to see their pass rushers in pass coverage, but it happens. And on every team, unfortunately. So that's something that you could definitely see. But I think Davion Taylor has to be a guy that we're talking about come mid-season. Like, I'm glad he's doing so well. You know what I mean? Because outside of Nakobe Dean, we don't really know any of these guys. Christian Ellis, a lot of people are high on him because of the 2 days that he's, had at practice. And the most recent one was kind of, I don't want to say lucky because he put himself in that position, but it was lucky because Nicholas Morrow wasn't there. So, it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting at the linebacking spot. To hear that they feel comfortable makes me feel like we're not horrible, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I definitely get the worry about that position.
I think it's going to be like a wait and see approach with the linebackers. Yeah. Like, they're going to let training camp start and just see how it folds out. And it's going to be up to Howie Roseman. It's going to be up to Nick. It's going to be up to Howie Roseman if he thinks it's good enough or not good enough. So also they'll have the reports after every training camp. So, is this going to work? Like Nakobe Dean, I'm not really worried about too much. I feel like there is something there with him. But I got to see it. I can't go off of what he did at Georgia. I can't go off of the little sample size he did last year. That's just a reality to it, as much as people might hate me for saying it. But, it's just, I don't know. That's just what it is right now.
Green dot Nakobe. I'm hyped for him though, man. I hope he does his thing, bro. I really do. Like, he just seems like such a good dude. He really does. I have his rookie card. So I really hope if you're watching this, Nakobe, sign my rookie card for me. You know what I'm saying? Make me some money. But no, I think he's going to be great. I really do. Everything that you hear from camp is really just positive. Like, I haven't heard one negative thing about Nakobe Dean, and especially off the field. I think that he's been a really, really good guy to kind of be around. You know what I'm saying? So, and Reed Blankenship talked about Marcus Epps kind of being the guy that helped him get into the NFL, and not get into it, but, learn how to be a pro and stuff like that. And I think Nakobe might be able to do that for Christian Ellis, kind of like, hey, this is how it's to be a star. You know what I'm saying? This is how you deal with all the media. This is how you deal with everybody with their eyes on you. This is how you attack practice every day. So if Christian Ellis has that kind of mindset that he wants to be great, I think that you got a guy right next to him that's perfect to kind of bring you there.
Yeah, the Christian Ellis thing was the Christian Ellis thing was interesting because I felt like after that, I think it was right after the Steelers game, and I remember that Michael Clay had an interview, and we need to get special teams better because I don't know if it was the blocking scheme. Obviously, special teams is a whole different story right now. But they moved Christian Ellis up from practice squad to the active roster, and he was playing a lot of special teams, and he was making a lot of tackles. He was all over the field. Every time on special teams, he was always making tackles. So, as a special teamer, I think he's great. And if he's making some noise right now, then that's great. I can't really complain about it too much. I think there's a lot of hate going in the chat right now.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. I love reading. I love reading your Philly 500 comments sometimes are like so funny sometimes. I love it. I love it.
The last thing I'll go over is offensive line, because obviously, you lose Isaac Samalo, and you lost him really late. Like, Isaac Samalo he got signed really late. Like, this guard was in the Super Bowl, and why was he not signed within the first couple of weeks, or at least the first week of free agency, which I don't know why. But now with tylersteen coming in, and obviously with Cam Jurgens, it's going to be interesting. Do you think there is a battle at right guard between them two? And what have you heard? I mean, OTAs wise, I think Cam Jurgens had the most starts at right guard as of right now. So what do you think about that whole thing that's developing?
Yeah, from what I heard, I guess the way they were doing it is having Cam Jurgens, when Jason Kelsey's at practice, Cam Jurgens is starting at right guard. But when Jason Kelsey's not there, Cam Jurgens is starting at center, and tylersteen is starting. I always say Sheen, so I gotta like stop myself. But tylersteen is starting at right guard. That's what I heard. What was happening throughout the camp. That was kind of how they were doing it. So from how that sounds, it kind of sounds like they just feel comfortable with Cam and they think he can do both of them, and they're not worried about it. Because in my opinion, if you were thinking Cam's going to be my starting right guard, I would want to see as many, reps from him as possible. But for him to be with your ones, and then as soon as, Jason Kelsey comes back, he's still with, or as soon as Jason Kelsey leaves, he's still with your ones just at the center position. It gives me the thought that Cam is a little bit ahead of him. And then you do hear, a bunch of players talking about Cam and him in his second year. Very athletic. I think that tylersteen has the better body to play the right guard position, if I'm being honest. So I think that there's still, I think there is a battle there. There's definitely nothing solidified as far as it, but it feels like Cam Jurgens is just like maybe a little schmidget ahead of him. But if I had to pick one, I think tylersteen is going to be better for that position just because of his body, the physicality he brings. And I know, Jimmy Smith, I don't know if you watch On the Road to Victory.
Yeah, I've seen his show.
We was on the show together, and he said that somebody that he knows from the offensive line said that he was like the next Brandon Brooks. So, hey, if he's the next Brandon Brooks, I'm all about it. Bring on Brandon.
I mean, you really don't question Jeff Stoutland bringing in offense. I mean, you really question it at this point, because exactly. I really don't.
That's why it's like I don't even really bring it up at this point, because it's like, you know what? I don't know much about tylersteen. Like, but when he got drafted, that was my first reaction. Like, I don't know much about this guy, but right. If Jeff Stoutland wants him, because that was
Alabama,
kind of
man,
story,
Alabama,
I'm with it. If Stoutland wants him, I want him. You know what I'm saying? If Stoutland pounds the table for him, I'm right behind him. So,
do you think theoretically he will become the future right tackle? If Lane's only here for a couple more years, do you think
that's a great question? That's a great question. I mean, it depends on where our drafts land, right? Like, what
because we drafted center after center, and they're becoming other positions.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, it definitely could be. It definitely could be. I mean, it comes down to I think getting a right guard. This might be foolish, but I think getting a right guard is probably a little bit easier than getting a starting right tackle. So I mean, if tylersteen is great, then why not? But if he's doing great at right guard, why not just keep him there? Because, I mean, that's kind of what you did with Landon Dickerson. He just was so good at a position. It was just like, why move him? So, I mean, he has the opportunity. He has the opportunity to play himself into that. But I think that it's a little bit too early. We'll see. Lane Johnson did say he has like only a couple years left. Yeah. To me, I'm a optimistic Eagles fan, so to me that means 20 years, right? He's never retiring. That's what a little couple years mean to me for Lane Johnson. But we don't have him forever. So tylersteen definitely is probably first up right now. But I think that over these next couple of drafts, we'll probably add some competition for that spot.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you're always drafting offensive linemen. That's great, because there's a lot of teams out there that put too much focus on the specialty weapons and not, and that's where QB careers go to die. And that's just the truth. We've seen it a million times, and I'm glad that the trenches are on both sides are very important. And, that's where it all starts. It all starts right there, especially when we talk defensive line. I think Jordan Davis is probably the most important player going into next year defensively, because he's the starting point of everything going on. He commands those double teams, and obviously can make the edge and make whoever that's next to him very successful. You know what I mean? I don't know what your take is on if they go after another defensive end. Yannick Ngakoue is still sitting there right now. He just hired his, Greg, Drew Rosenhaus, the guy that's going to get him, I don't know if it's a money thing or is it, he said it wasn't a money thing. He said it was just he wants a home because he's going from team to team to team. And Yannick's still a really good player. Obviously, Leonard Floyd's got signed. Frank Clark is signed now. So you have Yannick, you have Jadeveon Clowney still out there. But do you think they could add another defensive end, another trench guy, and then on top of Derek Barnett? I don't know what you're thinking about if you forgot Derek Barnett was
I tried to. No, I think Derek Barnett's gonna be that's another guy that his career is on the line. I feel like there's probably gonna be teams that will pick him up, here and there, but this year, to me at least, is probably the difference between whether you're a guy getting 2-3 year deals or a guy consistently getting 1 year deals. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But man, I'm all for it. If you want to go get Yannick, if you want to spend draft picks and go get Danielle Hunter from Vikings,
Danielle Hunter, yeah,
do it. I don't care. If you want to go get what's the homeboy name that you just said his name and I'm spacing on his name now.
Clowney.
Yeah, Clowney. If you want to go get Clowney, go ahead. If you want to go strap up at that, there's no such thing as too many pass rushers, and that's one thing I will argue till I'm blue in the face. You go up to any defensive coordinator, you go up to Sean Desai and say, I know you want to be violent, but are we giving you too many pass rushers? He's gonna be like, nah. He's gonna be like, you keep coming, keep him coming. There's no such thing as having too many pass rushers. If you can fit them on your roster, go ahead and get them, because that is, I've said this before, I'll say it again, man. This is the pass rusher is probably the third most important position on an NFL team. I think it goes quarterback, your tackles, right, and then your pass rushers. If you don't have good quarterback play, if you can't protect that good quarterback play, and if you can't get after the other quarterback, you are not going to win many games in this league. So we have obviously the first two, right? The third one we have, but if you want to get even better at it, I'm cool with it. Rotate them, keep them going, keep them fresh. I want to see everybody out there being as healthy and as fresh as they can be every snap. So whoever you want to bring on, I don't care. I'll argue with whoever, because a lot of times I bring that up and they're like, why bring him? Where's he gonna play? How many snaps? I don't care. Figure that out. That's not my job to figure out. That's Sean Desai's job to figure out. We give him talent, he makes it work, just like Jonathan Gannon was supposed to do last year. Nakobe Dean should have saw snaps, like you said. There was a number of players that should have saw snaps, but didn't, because Jonathan Gannon refused to pick up a clipboard and make any adjustments. So I'm giving this guy as many puzzle pieces as he wants so he can make the nicest picture he can create. That's it. So yeah, I would definitely, if there's anybody out there that you are open to getting, get them. And Danielle Hunter, if we were to trade for him, it would be kind of high probably value as far as draft picks. You're probably looking second round, maybe first, maybe. But at the end of the day, you're only paying like $5 million for him, and he's one of the best pass rushers in the game right now. So I'm doing it, man. Bring on all the good play. I don't care.
Yeah, Desai is gonna have a lot of comfort because he won't be panicking on, I don't want to move this guy. He'll have a lot of comfort, which is great. So you can always it wouldn't surprise me if they had Nolan Smith as an outside line. It wouldn't surprise me because he's just so athletic and he can actually get the job done at linebacker. I think if you added another, if you go out and get Yannick or something, then that's another piece you can always have if you want to take Nolan Smith on the outside. There's so many different things that you could do. So, we're going to be very when the first game gets here, we're going to be very we're going to be watching everything this defense does.
That's the crazy part, is we have no idea what's going on. A lot of us, and shout out to everybody that breaks it down. And there's Eagles content creators that go through the X's and O's of it and everything, which I love seeing it, but we have no idea what Sean Desai is going to do. Really, we have zero clue. You see other teams still in training camp right now, still in OTAs, still doing mandatory OTAs. We got 2 days of open practice, and that's something people kind of got to take into account, because yes, we can all have people we talk to. We all know, not all of it, but people know people within the organization. They can ask questions. But we haven't seen anything as media. Media has not seen that much. We've seen 2 days, and they were a combined 2 hours, if that.
Right.
So like we really don't know what this team is, and that's so that's a beautiful thing. That really is that we know that we have talent, right? But we don't know what this defense wants to do. We don't know what Sean wants to do. Something that at this point they can just get it tattooed on their forehead is we're not going to talk about scheme today, because they say that at every single interview. So hey, we don't know, but that's the beautiful thing about it. So like you said, once that first joint practice happens, we're going to be, what is going on? What defensive scheme are we doing? What are we doing? It's gonna be so much fun. I can't wait for this year.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. Yeah. So I think we talked about a lot. I don't want to take up more. I know it's been an hour and 21 minutes. I knew this was going to go over somewhat of an hour because I knew there's going to be a lot because we don't talk for a long time. And it's like we got to talk about.
We got to get it off our chest. There's been a lot going on.
Right. So obviously, if you guys haven't followed, Joe Castro on his channel, Philly the podcast. Definitely, I've been putting his link in the live chat and the description below. So definitely hit that link and subscribe to his videos because he works all year round. And yeah, I mean, what's your prediction record for this year?
13-4. So last year I did 14-3. And this year that was like a week or two ago I did that. I went through once they released the schedule, I went through what I thought we would win, and I had 13-4.
Joe, I hate doing schedules.
I do too, but sometimes it's fun. Last year I was right, so now I like them again, Joey. I'm not gonna lie. Last year I had it spot on. I was 14-3. Everybody called me an idiot. Everybody called me crazy, and we went 14-3. So I say 13-4 this year, but hey, we can as long as we get to the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl. I'll be happy. If we don't get to the Super Bowl this year, I will probably feel like this year was a waste. But that's I guess I know a whole nother topic right there.
Yeah. So anything you're doing for your channel this week? Just let everybody know what you're doing.
Yeah, we actually have an interview with Spectre Art. The guy that did the Devontae Smith.
Oh, that was nice
drawing and everything. Yeah. He unveiled it at the softball game. So we have him coming on this week. And I'll be dropping videos all week, and just I would appreciate you guys if you guys want to subscribe. Whenever I get news, I usually put it on Twitter first at Philly TP. So if you guys want to follow me there, follow the YouTube channel, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Joey, because you're my dog, and I'm happy to get back on the channel. Now I'm gonna have to bring you on my channel, steal your time, and bring you on my channel. We're gonna do this again.
I have nothing to do.
None of us do.
I got nothing to do right now, so I got plenty of time to do. That's why, because even during the season, it's so schedule packed. It's tough to do. Other than when I do the shakedown and stuff, it's schedule packed throughout the week. Between work and obviously I have another job, but I have to put bread on the table. So unfortunately, I think we all know that at this point.
Yeah, bills don't run away from nobody, man.
That is true, 100%. But make sure you guys subscribe to his channel. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like the stream if you guys have it before you leave. And we'll definitely get together soon, after training camp, and we, maybe by the time we hit preseason or by the time we hit that stage, we'll kind of see how this roster is really, developing and what's really going on. So we'll have you on the shakedown, or we'll go on your channel or whatever. Don't matter.
Facts. And we got to give Frank a nice little ahead of time notice so he knows not to come on. Shout out to Frank, bro. I've never seen somebody so mad about somebody but stay so long.
Frank, when is your podcast?
I love it. We're gonna give you a little bit of time ahead to let you know I'm gonna be on the show. So you can definitely tune on in, Frank.
You're always going to have that guy. So
I love it. Frank is the man, bro. I like this guy. I like this guy.
But other than that, for me at least, nothing. There's going to be some videos every day. I'm trying to get people on the channel and trying to, do things I don't normally do during the season too much. And that's it. And we'll be ready to go. Training camp. We still got a little bit of a wait. Enjoy your summer. Go to the pool. Go work out. Go do your thing. Because once training camp gets here, it's going to get crazy. It's going to be like, who's starting? Who's on the depth chart? This person made an insane catch. Trust me. We're not going to know what's going to be, happening by that time. But It's gonna be
Gonna be
good, man. I'm
constant.
excited. I mean, every off season is always exciting. Like when the season's over, it sucked. It was horrible to get back into this for me. At least I want to disappear for 2 weeks, but I honestly couldn't. I'm like I gotta talk about free agents now. Like what? That's how it was. Like that's what sucks. Like it's cool because when you get out of a Super Bowl, like you have like you're not knocked out of the playoffs earlier. You're in the Super Bowl like a few weeks later. It's starting up
off
again.
season. Yeah, we waited like 1 week, and then the next week all of our guys are off the team, and it's like, what the hell just happened? Like we went from like such a high to such a low for like in such a quick amount of time. But it was crazy because even last year obviously we got kicked out of the playoffs so early, but I got to chill. Like I didn't have the credentials or anything that last year, but like this offseason felt like it went so quick because I was in Kansas City and Indianapolis. It's like, all right, so there's really no time off, but it was cool. It was nice to kind of fill that time. But now these next couple weeks are going to drag. I already know that they're gonna take so long to get to this to these joint practices because that's all I'm looking for. Let's just get to the joint practices.
Yeah, right. We'll full pads, bro. Full pads. No, it's like after the Super Bowl, it's like, who are the Eagles gonna sign? And I'm like, fucking, I don't want to do this. I don't even want to touch this right now. Like, I don't even want to deal with it.
It's crazy, man.
That's how it is. You know what I mean? But yeah. But other than that, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It was great. I know we've been trying to do this, and I was like, you know what? I was like, let me get Joe Castro on. We haven't talked about the whole offseason at all ever. So yeah, I was like, this is perfect. But definitely follow Joe on Twitter. I mean, especially during the season, especially off season guys. Like if he's gonna be going to the combines and with these interviews, and definitely subscribe to this channel. You're gonna be very informative on a lot of information with a lot of players and his takes on it. I mean, he's better at the draft. I mean, I'm not a draft guru. I'm not. I mean, I try to watch as much as I possibly can, but we leave it to the guys that want to either do the X and O's or the guys that go out there and really sacrifice their time and put work into it. And I appreciate you for doing that. And if you work for the Eagles one day, just don't forget certain people.
Oh no, you already know. Yeah, we changing up the game. We changing up the game, man. I ain't the only one. A lot of these Eagles, a lot of content creators, a lot of Eagles fans, man, we're starting to do some really good things and get noticed. You know what I'm saying? So I love the content community that we have because everybody brings something different. So I love what I came up in. You know what I mean? I can never forget. I'm bringing everybody with me.
Yeah, no, like I respect you because like and trust me, like with me, I'm not into doing sports casting. I'm just this is just a hobby at the end of the day for me. And I appreciate everybody that supports, whether all Eagles content creators, even new content creators or content creators that are coming up, because it's not easy. It's a lot of work, especially if you're building a channel. It's not easy. So for you to go over, to the combine and do all this work and having a phone and a camera and you're like, I can't miss this. And you're running around and doing all this stuff. You got to eat, you got to get a hotel, you got to, do all this stuff. You know what I mean? I can't imagine it's a lot of work. And obviously, hopefully a lot of people, helped you out with the draft funding and getting there.
Definitely.
And I think that was a success too. I think a lot of people really want to help you out. I'm glad people were into it and, we're very supportive of you. So that was a great thing.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I was not expecting the outpour of help that I got, when I got out there, but it's amazing, bro. We have been, like I said, before I ever started this, I watched you and 500, the help that you guys have given, just reaching out, giving advice, just saying positive things.
Right.
It's a dope community, man. And I'm glad that it's growing. It's going to be, I kind of made a joke about it last when we were off the air, but it's going to be like 60 more content creators that come once the season actually starts. So the family will get even bigger, but I love it, man. Everybody brings their own different thing and everybody's so supportive, especially Frank. Frank's probably my favorite fan now. I'm getting Frank you want a Philly hat, Frank? you want a Philly
oh
hat?
My god, this is I don't get it. I don't get it.
I like it. I ain't gonna lie. I don't have enough of those people on my channel. I just like talk junk. I like it. I think it's fun.
By the year, I'm getting more and more. It happens. So
hey, you big time, dog.
I mean, they're here because they love us. They're here because they love us. That's
exactly.
it. You don't watch them because you don't like them. You watch them because you love them. That's
exactly. I wouldn't talk to somebody I didn't like as much as he's talking to me. So
Right.
I think there's love there. I think there's love, Frank. I love you too, buddy.
Yeah, guys. So make sure you go subscribe to Joe Castro in the description and the live chat as well. Subscribe to his channel and definitely watch all his content if you guys haven't. Subscribe to this channel and obviously like the video. We'll be covering Eagles news every single day as usual. And once training camp comes, like we said, it's going to be kind of crazy. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, Shakes, what up? Follow, slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.